Welcome back, fellas. We got an interesting video here. We got one Lamar Jackson fan versus 10 Lamar Jackson haters. 38-minute video. If y'all watch like the Jubilee videos, I think they do the same concept of like politics and shit. Hey, that's cool now. I could get 5 shits about politics, but when it comes to NFL ball knowledge, this is where I am. All right. Now, would I consider myself a Lamar fan? Hell no. Would I consider myself a Lamar Jackson hater? Nah. I just think, this is my stance on Lamar. I think, what Lamar does in the regular season is incredible, There's not many quarterbacks that can do it. Off the top of my head, Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes, and Josh Allen. That's about it. I do think I would have Lamar top 3. Just saying, I would have Lamar top 3. My top 3 would be Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. If you say Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, I'm not mad at that either. But I do think Lamar Jackson is NBA comparison is Joel Embiid. Regular season, one of a kind, on a tear. Enters the playoffs, he loses about 20 overall. All his badges go from Hall of Fame to silver and bronze. I'm sorry, it's just what he does. Every playoff game. 90% of the playoff games, he throws like the most Will Levis pick I've ever seen. Like when he played the Bills, what was it, second drive? Just fucking launches it to Taylor Rapp. Just ridiculous. But I'm curious what these 10 Lamar Jackson haters are gonna say. Let's hop into it.
Reliably in the top 10.
Best player in the NFL is Joe Burrow.
No.
He's never made it to the Super Bowl.
Ravens had the worst defense in the NFL for 9 weeks.
He's got 2 quarterbacks in just the AFC that don't even respect him.
Lamar Jackson's probably one of the most respected players.
Lamar Jackson is Mr. October, and in football, that's not a great thing. You got to be Mr. January. He has never been that.
Give me 10 quarterbacks over Lamar Jackson.
If you put Baker Mayfield on the Ravens,
do you believe that in your heart?
That's rage bait. Don't fall. That's rage bait. That guy, he does mushrooms mixed with bath salts. I'm telling you.
This is why he's not in the Super Bowl right now. Congratulations.
Welcome to One Fan versus 10 Haters. We have Jack Settleman, Ravens superfan, in the building, who will be taking on 10 of Lamar Jackson's biggest haters.
Yeah, so it's literally like the Jubilee shit.
What could you hate that man for?
All right, our first prompt. Lamar Jackson is the best player in the NFL.
You're going to...
No, he's not. I'm sorry. All due respect, best player in the NFL is Mahomes, without a doubt. Mahomes got blown out by fucking 20 points in the Super Bowl. Mahomes could do that for the next 3 years. He's still the best quarterback. He's still the best player in the NFL, without a doubt. This Lamar fan might be delusional.
To say he's the best player in the NFL, yet he hasn't won anything meaningful. How can you make that argument that he's the best?
Okay, MVP is a meaningful award. Let's not lie here.
Best player in the NFL.
Is Jalen Hurts the second best player in the NFL right now?
I would say Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL simply because
I agree.
He's won Super Bowls. Also, he's won MVPs.
But Jalen Hurts has made it to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. So is the quarterback's team success dependent strictly on the quarterback? Or, I'm trying to figure out what your metric is for analyzing.
The quarterback is the most important position on the team.
Agreed.
So if you're going to look at that, you're going to look at Lamar Jackson. Yes, he's been great in the regular season. No one's denying that. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to winning important games, being the best player to take your team to the next level, he is astoundingly bad. 4-12, more turnovers than touchdowns. You cannot argue that he's terrible in big game situations.
So what do you qualify as a big game?
I'd say playoff game situation.
Picking what games?
Any game in the playoffs.
Okay, he's only played the Steelers in the playoffs 1 time, and he absolutely dunked on them the last time. Then he played the Houston Texans last year. He absolutely dunked on them in that game. So the new version of Lamar Jackson has actually been pretty solid.
Nah, there's one thing we gotta say here. Last year, you were the number 1 seed. If you lost to the Texans, who were like the 5th seed, the 6th seed, people will be on your ass, right? This year, nobody saw the Steelers as a... Nobody thought the Steelers were winning a playoff game. No
Has he ever
disrespect.
made it to the Super Bowl?
No.
So how can you say that he's the best player in the NFL? He's never made it to the Super Bowl.
Is Jimmy Garoppolo the best player in the NFL? Like, once again,
Like, here we go. We just throwing random
I
shit.
mean, I believe in order to have the crown of the best player in the NFL, you need to take your team to the next level. Lamar has not yet done that. And more turnovers than touchdowns in games when it counts.
No, that's your metric for what game counted.
We're
or
talking
not.
about playoff Lamar.
But you're not referencing playoff stats.
I'm just saying
You're just
he has
handpicking
he has
games.
yet to take his team to the Super Bowl, so you cannot call him the best.
Okay.
Let's be honest. Lamar Jackson is Mr. October, and in baseball and football, that's not a great
Like, this
thing.
is a terrible
You gotta
take,
be
bro.
Mr. January.
No
He has
disrespect.
never been that. You want to talk about highlights? You know what I think about when Lamar threw it into triple
This is
coverage,
terrible,
like,
bro.
thinking
Everyone
he was
knows
gonna
Patrick
flag
Mahomes is the best player in the
That's what he
NFL.
was counting on the referees to go his way. Unacceptable. Do you
Then he
know
has
that
stopped
that
talking about
touchdown
Lamar in
has
this
a better
claim
passer
and
rating
talk
in
about
the playoffs than
Mahomes
Lamar
and
Jackson.
why Lamar is
92
better than
compared to
Mahomes
75.
because it's just not
Absolutely
comparable.
Lamar,
No
I
disrespect.
don't know why people love Lamar Jackson. Yeah, he's Mr. Fantasy. He gets the most points fantasy the last 2 years. I call him the parlay quarterback. Now that legalized betting is cool, of course I love Lamar Jackson. He's on prime time all the time. I'm going to make a 4-leg parlay. He's going to go 50 yards. He's going to throw for 200. He's going to get a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. That doesn't matter because the great player, the best player, finds a way to win in January, and he has yet to take that. Let's talk about the strip sack. Let's talk about he hasn't done a butt fumble yet, but that's the career trajectory he's on.
Once again, team versus.
We just talked about
his
butt fumbles and
performance
shit.
against the Bills, inexcusable in the first half. Would you agree with that? 2 turnovers.
Absolutely.
His
Terrible.
performance in the second half.
The fumble.
It
Fantastic.
got better, but it
The
takes
touchdown.
him a
Didn't-
while to adapt.
He didn't need to adapt in the first game against Pittsburgh.
Okay, that's Pittsburgh against an aging Russell Wilson.
One of the best defenses in the league.
Granted, okay, he got one. Now he's 3-5 in the playoffs.
So
Nobody thought the Steelers were winning a playoff
Replace
game.
Patrick Mahomes with Lamar Jackson. You get Andy Reid as a play caller. You got Spags as a defensive play caller. How would the Ravens or how would Lamar do in the Chiefs system?
Okay. That's a terrible take. Let's be real. You put Lamar Jackson on the Chiefs, it's not gonna work out. All Lamar Jackson fans and Ravens fans cry about is how they don't have a wide receiver. What the fuck do you think the Chiefs have? You think Lamar's gonna excel with 50-year-old D-Hop, 50-year-old Travis Kelce,
He's probably gonna make a
mid
mistake.
trash
Just
ass
based on what
Hollywood
he's done in
Brown?
the postseason,
Yeah.
he's
They only got one
gonna
receiver,
miss a
Xavier.
snap. He's gonna mess up somewhere. Just on what he's done.
Yeah. So who made the mistake in the second half of the game? Lamar fumbled the ball in the second half of the game. Lamar Jackson dropped a pass that hit him in the chest in the second half of the game.
Fair, okay. So let's put on Mark Andrews, not the guy who gets the ball every snap.
Well, that's just what happened. I'm not like making up a hypothetical. That's
He's
what
taking
happened.
the snap at center.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's always gonna be on him.
I'm not blaming the Buffalo loss on
But I'm
Lamar
saying,
whatsoever,
put him on the Chiefs.
but
Are they gonna win?
it's 100% on Mark Andrews right here. I don't know why they're talking about the Buffalo game.
I respect yours.
He did have two turnovers in the first half.
There's a reason he went to Louisville. Horses become legendary in Kentucky, not quarterbacks.
So how
I don't know what the hell that means, bro. I don't watch college
NFL
football.
When he's got 2 quarterbacks in just the AFC that don't even respect him.
I'm sorry. Get this bitch off this fucking stadium.
His peers don't respect him because if you caught the hot
His peers don't respect. Okay. All due respect. If you don't respect Lamar Jackson, you're just
11th of
stupid.
November, you had Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes post game talking about how they were going to see each other in the AFC Championship game. I'm sorry, but doesn't Lamar Jackson also play in the AFC?
He does.
So among
I mean,
peers,
So they don't respect him.
they were counting on
Yeah.
playing each other.
I
in the
guarantee
AFC
when they drop the
Championship
NFL
game.
top
When
100,
the Ravens,
Lamar's going to be in the
Lamar
top
Jackson's
3.
Ravens
Lamar,
were expected
he
to
probably
make
might be
playoffs as well. They
1.
were
Let's be
totally
real.
discounting him. So he doesn't have any respect among his peers.
Lamar Jackson's probably one of the most respected.
People
players
respect
in
Lamar
all of
Jackson.
this
This
year.
is-
You ask every.
I don't know
there was
what this
actually
bitch
a
is talking
fan-
about.
There was a player survey that said who's the most overrated player in the NFL, and it was Josh Allen. And that's when the players aren't speaking publicly. So behind closed doors, what are they saying? They're saying Lamar's awesome
But-
and Allen's over.
But they weren't speaking publicly. It was the two of them in the post game. They were shaking hands and they said, "All right, see ya."
So if I said, I'll see you again soon, right, after this, wouldn't that make a lot of sense?
No, because we're never going to see each other again. Number one, and two, we won't have a date at the AFC Championship. Regardless, Lamar Jackson in his career in the postseason, in the playoffs, 7
What
years.
we're talking about
7
is
years.
Lamar Jackson the best player in the NFL now, not over his career.
Okay,
It's just such a silly conversation.
It's not a silly conversation because if he wants to be the best player,
Best
he
player in the
wanna-
NFL
let me
now,
finish.
I mean-
let me
Content
finish.
creator?
Let me finish.
Are you a content
I'm not. Actually,
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
Okay.
What do
so,
you do in your life?
Hold
What
on
do
a
you do
second.
in your
No,
life?
no, no. Let me make my
If
point.
I reference
I'm gonna
something
make
you
my
did
point.
6 years
I'm gonna make my
ago,
point. Let me make
would
my
that-
point.
okay,
His
go.
career record in the playoffs: 3 and 5.
His career record in the playoffs under Todd Monken, 2-2.
Oh, okay. We're gonna talk about coaches. Let's talk about coaches.
Sure.
The coach of the Ravens.
Yes.
Do you think Joe Flacco is anywhere near the skill set of Lamar Jackson?
No.
No. Okay. Well, Joe Flacco
Yeah.
won a Super Bowl
Yeah.
with the coach of the Ravens.
Yeah.
He threw 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson has never even thrown 3 touchdowns in a single game in the playoff in his career.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's right. I'm cooking. Let's go. Put some. That's right. Okay. So no. I mean, I agree with you.
I ain't
Lamar.
like-
And by the way, Lamar Jackson has all
that-
these single season accolades. You know how many? All of those that Joe Flacco has won? Yeah, like none of them. Not an MVP ever. None of the.
I like kind of cooked him right there.
Pro Bowl,
the point?
nothing.
What's the point?
So-
I'm
so-
a Ravens fan. I know
So
Joe's
if you're gonna
had
throw
more
out,
playoff
but if you're gonna throw out accolades, well then Joe Flacco has
Wait,
none.
I didn't throw it out.
Joe Flacco has no accolades, and he went and won a Super Bowl with the same coach that Lamar Jackson has. So
yeah.
why can't Lamar do it?
Lamar can do it. He just hasn't yet.
He hasn't yet. Oh. So what
No,
are you
I
saying?
do believe
Now,
Lamar
that-
Jackson will
that
win a Super
drop
Bowl
that
when it's all
everyone
said and
points
done
to
in his
Mark
career.
Andrews in the end zone.
But it's gonna be
if
like one,
Lamar
no
Jackson
disrespect.
actually did his job and didn't strip sack fumble on the seventh play of the second quarter,
Yeah.
they would have never potentially been in that situation
Agreed.
for Mark Andrews to have dropped that ball. That strip sack fumble put exactly 7 points on the board for the Buffalo Bills 4 plays later, and the Buffalo Bills never relinquished the lead after that.
Agree.
You can retort though.
It's just like 8 years ago at the start of his career, I was a senior in college. If you pin that stuff on me, I just feel like that would be funny. People grow, they get better, and this is the world's it's really sports media. They're obsessed with just stamping things in the moment, right? Lamar hasn't won it yet. Giannis had never won it. Michael Jordan hadn't won it. Remember when LeBron James hadn't won a title? It just takes time for some people.
I do agree. I do agree.
But for everyone else,
I do believe
Josh Allen
that.
doesn't have a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow doesn't have a Super Bowl. There's 2 active starting quarterbacks in the NFL who have a Super Bowl. It's not just Lamar.
So we're saying
Like I said, I do believe that Lamar will win it
Yeah.
eventually.
Let's not. I see what you're doing here. You're doing a great job. All right? Doing a great job, kid. Lamar, you talk about this season. He had all of these weapons. Patrick Mahomes didn't have all these weapons. He had Zay Flowers. Hold on, let me finish.
Shit,
He had Zay
froze.
Flowers. He had Likely. He had Mark Andrews. He had King Henry. He had Justin Hill. Who can you compare that to Patrick Mahomes right
Okay, you just named
you're
Justice
mentioning
Hill
Mahomes.
and Isaiah Likely.
Sure.
Like,
Lamar had the better weapons. Mahomes didn't.
now? Yeah.
And in the season, regular season, who outplayed the other player?
Well, if you want to be honest, you say Patrick Mahomes outplayed him. Because if it was that true, he would be in the number 1 seed. Was the Ravens the number 1 seed? No. Were they the number 1 seed?
Ravens had the worst defense in the NFL for 9 weeks.
Oh, so you're making excuses for your best player in the NFL.
Is that an excuse or a fact?
Yeah, that's a fact. But
it
at
is
the
a
at the at the same time, where's Lamar right now?
yeah, Ravens defense is
didn't
nowhere
have
near the
32nd
caliber as the Chiefs.
Best, 32nd worst defense in the NFL. They won every single game.
Has he showed up in big games so far?
Define a big game.
The AFC Championship games that he played in 2019 and 2023. Did he show up?
He didn't play in
Okay.
2019, but in
Yes, he did. 2020? Yes, he did.
in the AFC Championship.
Yes,
no,
he
it
did. When he was an MVP?
it was divisional round, but in that game,
But who did he lose to in both of those games?
well,
Patrick Mahomes.
No, he lost to the Titans in 2019. He had 550 total
Oh,
yards.
the 9 and
in the
7
game.
Titans. The 9 and 7
Yeah.
Titans. Oh, okay.
But-
Okay. The best player lost to the 9 and 7 Titans.
But you said, did he show up? He had 550 yards in the game, and the Ravens had 7 drops in the game. Is that
Correct.
a Lamar Jackson
Correct,
problem?
but he didn't show up. Did they win? Did they win that game?
Well,
That's all I want to know. Did they win that game?
I think.
Nah,
know
you
the
can't
answer.
pin that against Lamar
we
though,
both know the
bro.
answer to that.
Yeah.
And that's why he's not the best player.
Okay. That's
Even
fair.
right now. Okay, he rushed for what?
did-
900 plus yards this year?
Sure.
And he threw for how much? 4,000 plus?
Yeah. First player ever.
Patrick Mahomes done that for about, let's
Nope,
say,
nope.
6 seasons.
Lamar Jack-
Passing yards?
Lamar-
Passing yards.
But you just referenced the rushing.
Okay, rushing yards. Okay, he rushed for over
And then-
900.
Yes.
Name one player that's won a Super Bowl that rushed that much. I'll close my eyes. Nobody.
So you're just saying he'll never win a Super Bowl because he's a mobile quarterback?
I said he needs to improve his game. Maybe work on the passing than just,
Like leading
Rushing.
the NFL in touchdown passes, or
yeah, we could scratch our head, but as we scratch my head, I look
Telling
at,
Lamar to work on his passing
Patrick
is
has
nasty
3
work.
to year 0. Have a good day, y'all. See ya.
Lamar Jackson is a top 10 quarterback of all time.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think right now. Like, I'm not 50, so I can't name like fucking Dan Marino and like Steve Young and shit. But like, when it's all said and done, for sure, I think Lamar would be top 10 of all time. All Lamar needs is one ring, and he's solidified himself as top 10. And I do think he will get that one ring. But right now, there's only one quarterback in the league right now that's solid. No, there's 2 Okay, I'm probably forgetting someone, but there's 2 quarterbacks right now that are top 10. That's Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. That's it. If I'm probably forgetting some backup that hasn't retired yet, but
I'm right.
off the top of my head, that's right now.
This ain't my first rodeo. Okay.
All right,
Give
top
me
10.
your top 10 quarterbacks of all time.
What are we basing it off of? Because if we're gonna do
Okay,
accolades,
we
I'm
have-
just gonna.
okay, so
I'm not
it's-
having the
It's
conversation.
a congregate of statistical, like longevity,
Okay.
winning. Even though winning is a team accolade, winning is important to mix in here, because years ago somebody like a Matthew Stafford would have never been put in this discussion. Meanwhile, that Super Bowl that he won a couple of years ago, for some people, 1 Super Bowl is good enough. Aaron Rodgers, me being a Jets fan, only has 1 Super Bowl win, right? He's got a lot of
Let's
NFC
just be
championship.
clear. You have 0 Super Bowl wins. as
Yeah,
a Jets
I
fan.
understand that. It's miserable. You definitely do have it a little bit better than me. But what I'm saying, though, is
Definitely.
that sometimes one ring.
If
can
my
kind
team
of
can make the playoffs
validate
every year, I'd
the
probably
Super
cry.
Bowl, right?
That's
So,
all right.
in the
Bryce
case
Young
of
is
Lamar
gonna break that
Jackson,
happen
he's
next year.
Never gonna win a ring. In the event that he
Never
does,
gonna win a ring is
maybe
nasty
you could
works,
put him in the
dude.
top 10, right?
I truly
As it
believe it will
stands
happen.
Right now, what real argument do you have to put him in the top 10?
So I think the prompt is Lamar Jackson a top 10 quarterback of all time? So there's a lot of,
Right.
it depends what you're measuring on. I'll admit, if you're doing it off of accolades, if you're doing it off longevity, it's going to be difficult for him to be in the top 10 if he's only playing the league for 7 years. You're kind of
I
ending
agree.
his career when others got 8, 10 more years. To
Like,
play.
it's just
So if
crazy
I were to
conversation
say
to have right
he's a
now.
top 10 player of all time. I like to think of, there's just from a skill standpoint and from a performance standpoint, and acknowledging that the athletes and the players in 2024 and 2025 are at a level that the 1980s players could never touch. And what I mean by that is, like, Dan Marino is going to have better long-term stats, better longevity, but, like, let's be real. Like, put freaking Brock Purdy in that era, and he's probably dicing them up. The same way we say MJ used to play against plumbers, MJ is not the athlete that Anthony Edwards is today.
Okay, so we're talking
But-
about
but if-
football, by the way.
I
Just wanna
understand, but
bring
I'm
it
just
back to-
saying. So if you
I agree with what
take-
he's saying.
If you take an athlete, Barry
You put
Sanders,
Lamar Jackson
who
in the
might be on San
1980s.
Francisco, the athletes
We're
are just-
talking.
They
quarterbacks,
gonna
not running
implement
backs.
rules.
But
They
I'm
gonna put a
saying,
scramble limit
you
on
wanna
Lamar
look at,
Jackson.
like, who are the 10 greatest players to ever put on the shoulder pads and play the position? He's undeniably in the top 10.
Undeniably.
Undeniably. It's
Oh,
not
I
even,
don't know
so
about
give me
that. I
10.
don't know
Give me
about
10
that.
quarterbacks over Lamar Jackson. All
Over
time.
Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson all time. Peyton Manning,
Okay.
Tom Brady.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Dan Marino. Even though Dan Marino did not win a ring, he was outstanding for his era. And in an era,
See, this is
over
what we
the
talking
course of,
about.
let's say,
Like,
the last 10 to 15
bro, I'm
years,
fucking 19. I don't know shit about Dan Marino. You think I watch Dan Marino highlights?
Okay.
I will
Fuck
put
no.
Rodgers. I will
Rodgers,
put
yup.
John Elway. I will put
John, well,
Patrick
I know him.
Mahomes.
Mahomes, yup.
Five Super Bowl appearances in 6
Sure,
years,
yeah.
3 championships.
Bro, you don't
That
gotta
makes a
defend
difference,
Mahomes.
right?
Mahomes
right
is
off the bat, I
top
gave you
two.
6 names, right? I think that's fair, and we can debate the other names here. From me
Drew
personally, it's
Brees?
like, I value longevity, right? I value a guy
No
like
Drew
Matthew
Brees?
Stafford in this era, right?
Matthew Stafford's better than Lamar
I
Jackson.
like Brett Favre. Brett Favre.
Fuck
has a
no.
similar-
Fuck
there
no.
you go.
Brett Favre
I
not better
love
than
him
Lamar.
too.
Okay.
But now,
Hell no.
again,
You
like,
need two
to,
more-
to
you need
your
two more
point,
names.
how much weight are we holding the previous era, right? If we're talking previous era, the guys like Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach and Terry Bradshaw, we can debate maybe they weren't individually as talented as Lamar Jackson.
Buddy said fucking
but
Terry
multiple
Bradshaw.
times
Terry
Super Bowl
Bradshaw is a
winners.
fucking
We have to get Lamar
Bob
Jackson
Cousy
there
of the
once. We
NFL.
cannot put him in any top 10 list until we get to that point.
But you did with Dan Marino. Have a good day.
All right, valiant effort. Next.
Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Brett Favre,
No.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Which one of those guys had to bring on the greatest running back of all time to their team to try and make it to the Super Bowl, and they still didn't make it to the Super Bowl? That was Lamar Jackson this year. They had
You just called Derrick Henry the greatest running back of all time?
Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Which one of those guys had to bring on the greatest running back of all time to their team to try and make it to the Super Bowl, and they
Am I
still
tweaking?
didn't make it to the Super Bowl? That was Lamar Jackson this year. They had to bring on Derrick Henry, basically the greatest running back of all time, and they could not even make it to the conference championship. You're saying to me, if Tom Brady
Oh, this is
added
hate
on
watch.
a
This guy,
Derrick
it's
Henry,
rage bait. It's
he
rage
would've
bait.
gone undefeated yet again.
So I'm confused. A top 10 player of all time can't have a top teammate.
I'm saying when you're looking at the top 10 quarterbacks of
Yeah.
all time,
So-
you don't remember the running back.
Nah, we can't say
Who's
that.
The running back on
Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Hall of Famer. Mahomes, Travis Kelce, arguably the best tight end of all time. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, once again, arguably the greatest tight end of all time. Like, bro, these guys all had weapons. We can't say that for Lamar. Like, that's terrible.
on the Broncos when the Broncos won the Super
Wait,
Bowl.
so does Marvin Harrison with Peyton Manning count?
I mean, you could say that about Mark Andrews. You could say that about. I'm not talking about.
We just no. We just compared Marvin Harrison to Mark. Like, bro, come on. What is
about
this?
receivers. I'm talking about they brought on Derrick Henry
So
to
you're
try
saying
and
it's-
win a Super Bowl. They couldn't even make the conference championship
you're saying-
with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You have Derrick Henry on your team, man.
So you're saying it's more valuable to have a star running back as a quarterback than a star like wide receiver or tight end?
I mean, regardless, there's still star tight ends on the Ravens. Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers didn't play in the playoffs,
Okay, but he played during the regular season.
and they were awesome. They had the best DVOA offense.
We gotta remember, Zay Flowers did not
I'm
play.
just saying
And let's
this,
be
how many
real.
wins
That
this
Buffalo
year do you
game,
think the Ravens
Derrick
would
Henry
have
was kind of
without
locked up.
Derrick Henry?
Unless the Bills were in like
I think that's
Lamar Jackson,
the 5-yard line or higher.
Based on what? Because
He
Lamar
did have that
Jackson
big run.
is the winningest regular season quarterback of all time, and he's never had Derrick Henry. But now with Derrick Henry, he's worth 4 or 5 wins to the team.
I'm just
Explain
saying,
that.
nobody.
So he went 14.
That's what I'm saying. We keep talking about Derrick Henry. We gotta remember what Lamar was doing before Derrick Henry. Lamar was still putting up numbers.
Changed the team this year.
I'm just saying they tried to bring on Derrick Henry in order to make a Super Bowl. They could not even make it to the conference championship.
No, I know. I was.
All right, it ain't
We
worth
all
it.
watched.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I feel like we watched that game.
The reason that he will never get there is because he has all of the things you can't teach. He has talent. He has that it factor, that X factor that you really can't teach. But I just feel like he's not taking care of the stuff you can teach, like learning the book, checking out all your reads before you just
I promise I'm not sexist.
decide that you're going to run for it. And I think it matters way more to him to prove that you can be a top 10 quarterback of his style than it is to concede a little bit, learn some reads, learn some plays, in order to take that team to the Super Bowl. I think it's
So
more
you're saying
important
Lamar
to
Jackson
him
has an ego
personally
problem?
to prove all those doubters wrong, that he should have been a wide receiver or whatever, than it is to take his team and lead his team to the Super Bowl.
So you're saying Lamar Jackson's ego gets in the way of him making reads? All
Which he
right,
needs to be considered
fuck it.
for that top 10 conversation.
Put me on this bitch.
Yeah. The biggest knock on Lamar in the AFC Championship last year and then all through the season this year was he actually wasn't running enough. So his mom had to get on the phone with him and tell him he should run a little bit more. And he publicized that at a press conference. So
25
I
minutes,
don't
goddamn.
really think it makes a ton of sense to say he, doesn't really make reads. We know Lamar's at a point in his career where he's gone first read, second read. So I just don't find any of that to be very true.
Do you think that he could stand to be a little bit more cerebral when it comes to running the huddle and being a leader of the team in the huddle, rather than being like,
What are you
physically, I'm
talking
gonna
about?
Get it done for you.
I don't think he's just like a go out and do it guy personally.
Well, to quote the young Dakota Fanning to the late great Brittany Murphy in Uptown Girls, fundamentals are the building blocks of fun. And everyone will say that he is having so much fun, but I just don't feel like he's trying hard enough to study and take care of it. I just don't see that from him.
All right. Appreciate it.
Lamar Jackson got to hit the books. Lamar Jackson deserves the 2024 NFL MVP.
He has.
Like I said, I said this in the award reactions. I agree.
Already. Does he really need a third one?
No, he doesn't.
No.
But
It's a little greedy now, right?
yeah. Look.
But can we debate
All I said about
this?
Lamar Jackson is just if he won the MVP, just change the narrative to like make it best
Can we
stats.
have a running back be MVP? If it's not Saquon, why not his own teammate, Derrick Henry?
What's your definition of an MVP?
Most valuable player.
Okay.
What they do on the field, of course. If you just sit here, you're just gonna say, "Oh well, Lamar had the best stats." Not really. He did pass for 4,000 yards and he rushed for 900. We get that point. You don't want to bring the playoffs? Hey, we get that point too. But besides that, it's always quarterback. What about the running back? What about the wide receivers?
They're just not more valuable. I think you know
That's
that.
agree.
So they're not more valuable, but this is a team sport.
But
Does he score all the points?
No.
No.
Just Saquon?
Saquon does it, but he scored most of them.
Well, let's see. Saquon had 16 rushing touchdowns.
Correct.
Jalen Hurts, his own teammate, had 14.
Yeah. Something called the tush push. I could. You throw me in there for 1 yard, I'm gonna push it down.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying.
Lamar
That's a
Jackson
lie,
had
but
44
alright.
touchdowns.
Congratulations to him.
Well, you're just saying that
Congratulations to him.
you okay.
So what are you saying? You want him to be MVP again?
I think
You would love it. You would love to see it happen, right?
No, it doesn't really affect me.
Okay.
I think that he's gonna win it. I think he should win it. I think everyone in Baltimore knows that us as a fan base, we just want to see him win the Super Bowl MVP. But I don't think running backs are more valuable than quarterbacks. And if that's the definition,
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
to you,
Your whole
then-
claim was that a running back should MVP.
This is why he's not in the Super Bowl right now. Congratulations.
No
The
disrespect.
Ravens are holding Lamar
But-
Jackson back.
So Lamar Jackson said when he
100% agree. 100% agree. Lamar Jackson didn't get a true solidified wide receiver one. Lamar Jackson didn't get help until this year. We'll say last year too, because they brought in Zay Flowers. They brought in Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is cool. Let's not act like Zay Flowers is like this super elite talent. He's not, but he's a good wide receiver one. They brought in Derrick Henry this year. That's it. Before, they had Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews was already on the team, so it's not like they brought in help. Rashad Bateman was mid. I can't name the receivers before. You asked me, like, I'm looking like 3 years back. Who the fuck was Lamar throwing to? I don't know. If it wasn't Mark Andrews, I didn't know.
wins a Super Bowl,
I agree.
he's gonna switch his jersey number.
The Ravens didn't bring in any help.
Looking at your jersey,
2 years.
it still says 8. What's the reason? Is it the Ravens holding Lamar Jack, or is it Lamar holding the Ravens back?
Okay, you think
Let's look at how
Lamar's
this
holding
team
the
is
Ravens
built
back? You're
for
smoking
Lamar Jackson.
dick.
Right, starting 2018, they decide Lamar is their future. And so if we look in their recent past, they draft Zay Flowers early to get him more help and support.
That was last
They
year.
got smoked by the Titans in that iconic 28-12 playoff loss years ago. Derrick
I
Henry
couldn't
them.
name a single
So what do?
receiver on
You
that
can't beat
team.
'em? Join them. They bring Derrick Henry over
That was
to the
1 year,
to
bro.
supplement Lamar Jackson, make it a more balanced attack. So you have, not elite wide receivers, but you have a strong wide receiver, strong tight ends, strong running back. The offense is there for Lamar Jackson to succeed. But
Are they
as I said
hating?
earlier, in the regular season, he could not get that number 2 seed. I strongly believe if he had done better in the regular season, Ravens would have been hosting the Bills. Much better chance they win that playoff game. So I know we like to
I
isolate
agree.
playoffs
You know,
regular season.
you cannot give up a game to the Raiders.
In this case,
You
if he
cannot
does a
give
little
up a
bit
game
better
to
in the
the
regular
Browns. They
season,
lost to the
he
Browns,
makes
right?
even just
You
one
cannot
comeback
give up a
drive.
game to the
Ravens
Steelers.
get, he had the Bengals drive, so I don't want to give you some, but one of those 5 losses. he
Those
had the
3
comeback
teams
drive.
are mediocre.
Ravens get the 2 seed. They likely
Now,
win.
to be fair, Lamar Jackson's in the hardest division of football.
Lamar's
Josh
not-
Allen is arguably the easiest.
They built a really good defense the first few years with Lamar, and then a bad pass game, and so that kind of stunted his growth. And he's grown incredibly as a passer. And then
I
Zay
agree.
was awesome this
Yeah.
year. He was the first time the Ravens have drafted a Pro Bowl receiver in their history. Defense really struggled to start the year. He kind of had to hold them afloat. And I think when you look at all the sympathy for Joe Burrow, Lamar got it done, and Burrow didn't, right? And
Sure.
then so then the back half of the year they
That's
built a
fair.
good team.
I don't know the defensive stats,
The games that they lost,
but
early
did the
on,
Bengals give up more
cost them.
points than the
Not to
Ravens
mention,
defense? Because I
they
don't
did
know.
beat the Bills
Because I ain't gonna lie, I did feel bad for Joe Burrow.
During the regular season, but they allowed 27 to the Chiefs. They allowed
Joe Burrow had to
something to the Raiders.
go
They allowed
crazy just to
29
win
the
by a field
Browns.
goal.
So in games that they
That's what it felt like.
and
Because
they
that Bengals
lost
defense.
outside of obviously Pittsburgh.
I mean, they had Andy Dalton balling against them. That's how you know it was bad.
He played pretty well this season, and then it's kind of just how the cookie crumbles. This is just how football works. It's not a best of 7 series. Sometimes you just end up on the wrong side of it.
Sure, but in these cases, Lamar had the chance to win at the end of the game, right? It's not that the defense is playing so atrociously that they're down.
They had a
20
chance to
points
tie
going
it.
into the fourth quarter.
Mark
Pretty much
Andrews
every
dropped the
game this
ball.
season, even the ones they lost, one score, and then the ones they won, sometimes they dominate. Lamar is put in a position to succeed. It's not that the Ravens are holding him back.
Yeah,
right?
well, I guess let me ask you. Lamar really messed up in the first half of the Bills game, but you're talking about he can't come from behind. Well, he leads this 88-yard drive with his wide receiver one is I don't even know who it technically was on that drive, and then his most trusted player drops. Did you think it was a good throw, bad throw on the 2?
It was fine, and if it was isolated, then sure, you can go and pass. It's just happened too many times, and even in that case, still leaves a minute and a half left on the clock. Josh Allen, who's more clutch, is going to.
But what's that have to do with Lamar?
Yeah.
Lamar doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson will win a Super Bowl in the next 3 seasons.
It's hard to project.
We gotta think. All right, Eagles won this year. I ain't gonna lie. I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles might do back-to-back. I'm not gonna lie to you. Unless the Commanders doing some serious shit this offseason, I think the Eagles. I'm tweaking. We got the Panthers. I think the Panthers take this Super Bowl. But in all seriousness, unless the Commanders do some serious shit this free agency, I do think Eagles might run back-to-back. Niners, I think the Niners Super Bowl window's closed. Brock Purdy got to get paid. Y'all are about to trade Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk's a big ass fucking crybaby and tore his ACL. No disrespect, but you cry all this offseason, you make the big drama and all that shit, and then you tear your ACL a couple of games into the season. That's unfortunate. George Kittle, I don't know if he has a contract extension. McCaffrey, I don't know. I think the Niners Super Bowl window's done. You got to think AFC, we're never going to doubt the Chiefs. I think if the Bills could bring in, honestly, I don't know. If the Bills could bring Bills are just missing a couple pieces. I could see them being in it. And then the Ravens. Never gonna count them out. Then if Joe Burrow can get a defense, bro, I think we're not counting Joe. If Joe Burrow can get a defense, I mean, the sky's the limit, bro. I mean, we could see them in the AFC Championship for every year. You know what I'm saying? But Lamar Jackson will win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years. I don't think so.
Into the future.
I would like him to.
Kansas
But I don't
City,
think so.
The Chiefs model, right? 5 Super Bowl appearances in 6 years.
I mean, it's
right?
just gonna be too tough. You got
They may not go back after this year.
fuck
They
the
may go
NFC
back
because you gotta go to the
multiple
Super Bowl
times
for to
after
worry
this
about
year, right?
NFC. The
What we do
AFC,
know
we
is
got
that when it
Chiefs,
comes to all these quarterbacks in the
Bills,
AFC,
and
Lamar
bro, I'm
Jackson,
telling you,
Josh
give
Allen,
Joe
Burrow,
Burrow a
put them
defense.
together. Only one of these guys.
It's gonna
beat
be tough,
Mahomes
bro.
in the last 6 years in the
Joe
playoffs.
Burrow's him, bro. Like,
And it
don't
took a little
disrespect
extra
Joe
time
Burrow.
for him to
We
do
know
it,
Joe
but fell
Burrow's
short
that
of the
guy.
Super Bowl, right? So when you get these opportunities, you got to make the most.
He
of
can't
these
be perfect all the
opportunities,
time.
right?
We know that. No quarterback
Not
can.
only
Look at what
are we
happened with
talking
Mahomes on
about
the Super Bowl.
the Super Bowl, but it's like we got to get it out of the AFC first, right?
I agree.
So until I see Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and again, I commended you the Ravens program before. They're one of the best organizations in the NFL.
Yeah.
Period. But everything changes on a dime in the NFL.
Like,
right.
we gotta
it's
see.
incredibly hard to project. Maybe the Bills.
If the Bengals can do some serious shit in the
Josh Allen
offseason,
fifth try, maybe he does it.
it might be
I think
scary
he's
for
over
them.
too, but
Bills and
point being is
Chiefs,
that
I know they are.
the Steelers were very,
Chiefs, I know
very
they got to
good
resign a
this
couple of
year
guys.
until they fell off in the second half of the season.
They'll probably
They
let
have
Justin
a
Reed go.
program as the Ravens, a great coach. Mike
Trey
Tomlin,
Smith
like
got
John
fraud
Harbaugh.
checked on
They could always
Sunday.
get back to the Super Bowl,
Buffalo, I'm
right?
not sure it's
You look at
too much
teams in
about the
the
free
AFC
agents.
West, the
Amari
Broncos
Cooper.
were very, very
Amari
good.
Cooper didn't do
Very
shit.
good defense, core pieces on defense, and a promising guy who, Bo Nix, even though he did not play well in the playoff game against Buffalo, a lot of promise, and I think he's only going to get better from here.
No disrespect to the Broncos organization and everything. The Broncos, y'all are going to be the Steelers for the next couple of years. Y'all will be first round exits in the playoffs every year.
So you got to throw a team like the Broncos in this discussion.
Fuck no.
right?
A quick question for you.
Yes.
Why do you have promise for Bo Nix and not Lamar Jackson?
Well, it's not that we don't have promise for Lamar Jackson.
So
We're
you do.
acknowledging that he's very good.
Okay.
But
you think
we've
he
given
could
him-
improve?
we've given him one crack in the AFC Championship game against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs already.
Yeah.
And they scored 10 points.
Yeah.
In a home playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
They were the 1 seed years ago in that playoff game against the Titans, right? We've amply set up the Ravens multiple times with the best possible path and track to get to the Super Bowl, and they
I
have
agree.
not made the Super Bowl yet.
So you're saying
the first
we
hurdle
as
is
if you're like puppeteer.
Yes.
Who put them in that
Nah.
spot?
the Ravens,
Yeah.
the front office.
Like you wouldn't say there's maybe a quarterback who wears number 8 who was a big part in getting them to the number 1 seed.
No doubt.
Yes.
Like, so you would acknowledge, right,
Right.
that the easiest path. To the
I'm
Super
a
Bowl
firm
is getting
believer.
the 1 seed.
If you're the first seed in any
Move on to the
conference,
weakest opponent,
the
and then
bare
move on
minimum
to
for
the
you should be the
right.
championship.
By the way, I just want to throw in Lamar Jackson is something like 27-2 against the NFC. So if he does get there,
If he does,
It's a
because
g- it's a-
we're now 0 for
for
2
sure.
with them as a 1 seed
for
trying to
sure.
get to the Super
but
Bowl.
if he gets there, you would agree they probably have a good chance in the game because on top of
Big
that,
coin flip.
but on top of that, he's also in theory.
I mean,
broken
whatever.
down,
Both
right?
teams,
Everyone
whatever
in the
Super Bowl
world,
happens,
I think,
everyone got the
agrees
chance.
He's a special player, and he's just come up short. So what happens if he does get to the Super Bowl?
There are a lot of other players in the NFL who are special players and have come up short.
So my point is,
There are so
you're,
many
you're
factors to
acknowledging
this.
that Lamar Jackson does a really good job of putting the Ravens in a position to get to that spot. So the question is, will he win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years? I'm saying I'll take my bet that if he continues to put them in a 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed over the next years and has improved every single playoff appearance, right? You mentioned 10 points in the AFC Championship 2 years ago. This year, even with 2 turnovers in the game, one then by his teammate, a third one, he still put up 25 points, and if Mark Andrews catches the ball, 27. So he's shown progress, right, over this time. So you've got
I
a
agree.
quarterback who's continuing
you
to
know,
improve in his game, and you're telling me
We're
he's gonna
comparing
put him
Steve
his
Spagnuolo's
team in
defense
position
to
have
whoever
a
the fuck
decent
the
path to
defensive
get
coordinator on the
there.
Bills
I'll take my
is. You know what I'm saying?
May I make one last point? To
Keep it
reference, in order to get there, the offensive line has to improve and the defense has to improve. Two two strengths
I do
that the
agree.
Ravens have always had the last 10 to 15 years are no longer strengths for them.
That
And it's
defense
not
got to
gonna
get better.
any So if they're going to make the Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, it better get better because there are 4 or 5 teams in the AFC alone. We didn't even talk about the NFC. 4 or 5 teams in the AFC alone who you could project
14.
the next couple of years, the next 3 years, that could get there maybe just as much as the Ravens.
You think there's 4 or 5 teams that can? Nah. Chiefs, Bills. That's it. Bengals if they get a defense, and that's it. Like, am I being disrespectful? Like, am I counting out a team like the Texans? No disrespect. No. Actually, I take that back. Texans. We'll say 4. We'll say 4. I'm not gonna disrespect the Texans. The Texans got crazy potential. D'Amico Ryans is one hell of a head coach hire. But you said the Broncos. I'm sorry, bro. The Broncos have no promise.
You can't go into the future expecting. a
Okay,
different
no.
outcome
This guy will have the craziest rage bait.
when the past has already shown you, you know, how many times he's had the opportunity to go further and couldn't. You know, and you said, you gave an example, right? Like this last playoff game was probably the best playoff game he's ever played, especially from a
One
passer
of,
rating. Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
yeah.
His
I
last
think
two,
that Titans game is
every
probably the
single one
best
for
of.
that you know. was
Yeah,
good.
he's on kind of a upward slope.
Right. His last 2 were his best 2 playoff games. They lost.
Houston in the division round last year, but sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But lost, right? Like this last game, he lost the playoff game.
Yes, they
Right.
lost.
So
that
even
game.
at his best playoff game he's possibly ever played in his career, they still lost. So I'm saying, like, no matter what,
that's the best playoff game. Number one, it's not the best playoff game of his career, but let's
Okay.
use the Bills-Ravens game.
Right,
Let's
right,
say
right,
it's
right.
one of.
Right.
He hasn't gotten there yet, but he's shown improvement even within that game as a
Yeah.
microcosm. Right, 2 turnovers in the first half, absolutely brutal.
Right.
0 turnovers, 0 punts in the second half, scored on every drive, including a 90-yard touchdown drive. So like, as he continues this upward trajectory, it gives me confidence that it will happen.
But even with that best game, it didn't. You know, so if you can expect
No,
him to
but
keep
it's
playing
not
better
as-
and better, him
it's
as a
not.
single player, but
Yeah.
the team, you're
Let's
not
see,
getting
yeah.
there.
So I have a question for you.
Right.
Did you ever think Matt Stafford would win a Super Bowl? Because he was coined as the biggest loser in the NFL.
At what point? What do you mean? Did I ever
His
think?
entire career with the Lions, everyone's like, "Oh, he's a loser. He's a loser." Go back in time.
I agree. But we knew Matthew Stafford was a dog. There's a reason why the Lions got such big trade compensation for Matthew Stafford. We knew what Matthew Stafford was capable of.
Peyton Manning hadn't won a Super Bowl at this point in his NFL
Right.
career. Did you ever think he would win a Super Bowl? Does it look a little silly now, looking back and being like, "Well, Peyton Manning"? I was the one saying Peyton Manning wouldn't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020, and I mean for every single player ever to win a Super Bowl, hindsight's 2020 to be like, oh, I can look back and say yes, they eventually.
So
won.
all right. So then the question at hand
So if Lamar
is.
switched
Yeah, I
the
do
team,
agree. It is crazy that and I asked this question. He is only 27, 28.
But the question at hand is, do you think he'll win one in the next 3 years?
I don't think he's. If you look at even career-wise, Lamar Jackson's not top 10 in anything but rushing yards, and it's because he has the most attempts, right? What you say, shoot 100 shots, you'll make 30 points. He has the most attempts. Doesn't even have the highest rushing average per carry out of quarterbacks. That's still on Michael Vick. He's behind by a whole yard still. So I say Baker Mayfield has more passing
We're not comparing Michael Vick to Lamar Jackson. That ship has sailed like 3 years ago.
yards and touchdowns than him in his entire career, and they were drafted the same year. Baker Mayfield. So if you put Baker Mayfield on the Ravens, do they win the Super Bowl?
Do you believe that in your heart?
From a statistic standpoint?
No. Like, genuinely, do you believe that? Or is it for the show?
Oh, yeah. Do I think if Baker Mayfield was on the Ravens, would they win the Super Bowl? The way he played this year? Yes. I'm going to say yes.
Respect the time.
Okay.
Time to go.
That's rage bait.
So the prompt is, will Lamar Jackson win a Super Bowl within the next 3 years?
Yes.
You say yes.
Yeah, I actually feel pretty confident that if you gave me a bet,
I think that's 50-50
yes or
to be
no,
honest.
I would bet on it.
I would say no,
So
me
we've
personally,
established
but
here throughout the course of today that
it definitely
Patrick
could happen.
Mahomes is the best quarterback in the AFC. Is Patrick Mahomes retiring in the next 3 years?
No.
So you don't have any inside information on that.
No.
Okay, so I think that it's silly to say that Lamar Jackson can go ahead and beat Patrick Mahomes. He can't even get past Josh Allen. My point being, and you're talking about this growth
see,
trajectory.
this is what I can see. It's not just Mahomes, you know what I'm saying? Like 2 years down the line, we could see Mahomes versus Joe Burrow. We know Joe Burrow got Mahomes' number. Well, not Mahomes. It's 50-50, like electric game. And then we got Bills Ravens. It doesn't have to be Mahomes. Lamar is capable of beating, anything. He's capable of beating Mahomes. He's capable of beating Joe Burrow.
Lamar Jackson
He's
has
capable
had
of beating Josh Allen.
playoff games where he's
We
had a
know he can
quarterback
beat
rating of
the
10.
shit out of the
Another
Houston
one has a
Texans.
quarterback rating of 18.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
It doesn't have to be Mahomes. Like,
but does that mean
yeah, Mahomes is the
Patrick Mahomes
final
isn't gonna
boss
get any
right
better over the
now,
next couple
but 3 years
Josh
from now,
Allen isn't
he's
gonna get
probably
any
not
better.
gonna
They're-
be.
They're all going to be getting better.
Totally.
So how can you say that
know what I'm
the
saying?
growth trajectory of Lamar Jackson would
Like,
be
there could be a
greater than
year where Mahomes
any
just
of the other top quarterbacks in
fucking
the league?
loses second round. You know what I'm saying?
It's a good question. So you mentioned a passer rating of 10.
Whoever
passer rating of
dethrones
18.
Mahomes
We've
early in the
never seen
playoffs
Patrick
goes to the
Mahomes
Super Bowl.
Play that poorly in the playoffs, right? So when you talk about kind of like how this slope could potentially meet, Mahomes can barely improve, right? He's been one of the greatest playoff quarterbacks.
I
of all
agree.
time. And what Lamar can continue to step up is a much larger gap. So I guess that would be the answer to your question.
Well, then my follow-up would then be, okay, well, you've like everybody mentioned.
I
you got
agree with
Derrick
his
Henry.
saying.
I mean, this
He's
is
basically
the best
saying
statistical
Patrick
year
Mahomes
his
is a
career, still
98
couldn't get it
overall.
done. And
He
you
can only be a
reference why
99
everyone's talking
overall.
about the
Lamar
Bills
Jackson,
and
he's a
the
respectable
first half
94.
was awful by Lamar Jackson.
He can
and
go
then
up to like a
rebounded in the
96
second half,
one
but
year.
in the
and then
first
a
half of the
97,
playoffs, when the lights
and
are
then
brightest,
you know what I'm
he
saying?
couldn't get it done.
That's basically what he's saying.
His strip sack fumble set the Bills up almost in the red zone.
Yeah.
And they never regained the lead after that. And no matter what Lamar Jackson
I'm not
did,
gonna lie
he
to you.
couldn't put the team in a position to go ahead and win that game.
Well,
To
that's-
me-
I can't even hit on the strip sack
No,
fumble
but
because
it is, because
that strip
because-
sack fumble is
Well, it's
probably
not,
one of the
because
worst
he
plays
did
I've
put them in
seen
that
out of an
position.
elite
It was
quarterback.
His teammate dropped the ball.
Well,
And the drive previous, Mark Andrews fumbled. That was driving to take the lead. So, but let me answer your question. You referenced the turnovers. We've talked a lot about the turnovers.
Sure.
That's the next step for Lamar. You cannot turn the ball over in the playoffs. That's what Josh Allen does incredibly well. That's what Jalen Hurts does incredibly well.
Correct.
And of course Patrick Mahomes. So, if you're in agreement that Lamar
Facts.
has improved year over year, what is the next step for him?
The next step is to not have a strip sack fumble that leads the
Agreed.
the Buffalo
Agreed.
Bills. Agreed. But
So do
Mark,
you think he can make that step?
No,
That's the question.
no, and Mark Andrews,
Okay.
he should have never put Mark Andrews in that position to have to come up with that catch because the 7 points were attributed to the Bills 4 plays after.
All right, bro. Yes, the strip sack fumble happened and shit, bro. That's not the reason why they lost that game, bro. That's not the reason, bro.
That strip sack fumble. That's
Okay,
it.
yeah.
It's a multitude of plays. It's the pick. It's the strip sack fumble. It's Mark Andrews fucking fumbling on a first down conversion. It's Mark Andrews dropping the fucking game time 2-point conversion. It's not just one specific play that's Lamar's fault.
Yeah.
14-7, game over.
Am I missing the strip sack fumble? Didn't
He
he run?
dropped the ball. He dropped the ball.
Strip sack?
Yeah,
okay. Definitely wasn't a strip sack
No,
fumble.
it
Anyway.
wasn't a strip sack,
Okay.
but
Drop
yeah.
the
Just
ball.
seeing if I
Yeah.
missed a play.
Same thing.
Do you see things that he could tangibly improve on from year to year?
I think it's
Yeah, it's easy. Well, not regular season. Hey, Lamar, keep doing what you do in regular season. No one doubts you in the regular season. Playoffs, tune it down with the Will Levis-like interceptions. Tune it down with the double coverage, the triple coverage interceptions. Just avoid one of those in an intense playoff game, and you'll win a game.
it's as simple as don't turn the ball over in the playoffs.
That's
That's
it.
Agreed.
what makes Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback in football.
What do you mean that's it?
Protect.
Turnovers win football games. It's not the main thing. There is games where they will have
Do you
more
think
turnovers and
he is
still
in a
win.
position to do that
But-
himself, or is it based on offensive line?
It's
Turnovers-
a good question, right? Like you
Live
cannot
and die by
control teams, but
turnovers
in the playoff
in
games
football.
where the Ravens have come up short. 2019 Titans. Did we have 7 drops in the game? Did Lamar have 500 yards? Yes, but he also turned the ball over. Against the Bills, did Mark Andrews drop the ball? Did he fumble the ball? Yes, but Lamar also had 2 turnovers. So yeah, you can't control your teammates, but I think as a team and as a leader, you kind of continue to instill that mentality, and it's got to be from him first. He's got to stop turning the ball over, and if his teammates do it, then maybe it's out of his control.
So, at what point do you say to yourself as a fan, I'm actually kind of mad at this guy. And I don't support him or as much as I did because I feel like he's letting me down. We see that all across the league now.
Hey, if my favorite team's quarterback is a 2-time MVP, I'm never not supporting him.
Steeler fan.
I will buy an extra jersey.
Russell Wilson breaks my heart. And I've been a Steeler fan my whole life, and I hate Joe Flacco more than I hate Lamar Jackson because he's still ruining my life now, and it's been like 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, Lamar, at what point do you become a hater?
That's a good way to end it. Yeah, I don't think I'll be a Lamar Jackson hater. I mean, this might be a cop out, but like off the field and on the field, like he's just a guy
He's
having
the best
a lot of
guy.
yeah, he's just
He's
a good
the best guy.
So it would be tough to like hate on him. He's had nothing, you know.
If you
besides,
ever
like,
hate on your
multi-team
franchise
equipment,
quarterback,
maybe.
you're just lame as shit.
No, I can't imagine myself.
Like what she said right there, I
Lamar
agree
hater.
because Russell Wilson is not the Steelers franchise quarterback and shit. But Raven says, if y'all ever hate on Lamar, y'all are just lame. That is a franchise quarterback. You know, he might not bring y'all a ring, but hey, Lamar is that guy. Let's not get that confused. But that's the end of the video. Very interesting. I think this Lamar fan did a pretty good job defending his guy. You know, they should really bring me up here. I'll defend my guy BY9, stop him from all the glazing. Trust. House of Highlights. I'm right here, man. I got my BY9 jersey hanging up there. Lock me in. Go ahead and send me an email. But like I said, thank y'all for watching. And what's the next video? Oh, Luka Lakers debut. That's gonna be next. See y'all there.